Caramel chocolate donuts, welcome back to the show. We are still enjoying the sideways zone of Bitcoin, but I think we're a bit thankful now because it's not down to Goblin Town like before. You see this horizontal line, this was the key level to form the higher low of Bitcoin, and we're just waiting to see where it goes from here. I'd like to remind everybody, even though September is poopy, during the good Septembers, it was still poopy volatility. It's just a phenomenon that we have to deal with. What's most important, though, is the weekly super trend is still green. We have not flipped. We've been here for a long time, man. We're going to look at this sideways for a long time, 6 months. We are building a base to go higher. That's what I think. Something can always come out, send us down. Who the hell cares? I just don't want you to get fixated on that because, a lot of people always say to me, why don't you just say like where you think it's going in the next 6 to 12 months? No. Why? Because I've learned. I used to do it when something happens out of the ordinary and you haven't spoken to somebody. Guess what happens? They sell. They just sell. I want to tell you about something. During the zombie virus back in 2019, so this is why, friends, this is why you like, subscribe, bell button and all. I am here to shock the algorithm and tell you something you've never seen before. I was around in the zombie virus and I was bullish the whole time, saying, hey, with the bull market, I'm just bullish the whole time. I don't care what it does, blah, 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 who cares? But this is what happened. Only my very close friends was listening to me and talking to me during the zombie virus month. It is what it is. You just don't get to talk to everybody all the time. And I told my friends before the zombie virus, by the way, around here, I told my friends, look, there's this world virus, zombie virus is coming out. Anything can happen in markets. All bets are off for the next few months. I said this to them. I didn't know what was coming next. I just said, hey, I know we're still bullish, but just saying, if something happens, don't get scared. Anything can happen for me. And guess what? It happened. But unfortunately, I then find out later on, so deep into 2020 and later on, what I found out was there were people who I used to know, Discord, friends, many different types of people. A lot of them, because the zombie virus came, they sold. They panicked, they didn't know what was going on. Some of them left, some of them just stayed in stable coins. I don't know what ends up happening to their storyline because they just never tell you about it. Obviously, not the best news because we don't know about it. So I learned from this scenario. I thought to myself, all these people who I knew in my earlier past, okay, how could I have prevented that? Well, instead of just saying, I think we're going to start running up by this year, I kept saying around 6 to 12 months. I kept saying that. Little did I know, it was detrimental to all my baby doll baby cakes out there, and of course the chocolate custard donuts. That wasn't very useful at all. Instead, what I think is better is now literally saying 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years, and anything that good happens in between, okay, sweet. It's a nice cherry on top, which is exactly what you are. Okay, so this is super important because all it takes is for you to click once, friends. Discipline. Discipline, 99% of the time, not good enough. You need 100%. I'm not joking. In this game, you need 100%. Don't listen to these people who say, you can always sell and then get back in. You can always do this and do that. I don't know anybody who's around with this mentality. I don't know. Sure, they're kind of surviving right now, but give me 5 to 10 years of their track record, you're not going to go anywhere. You won't. Once you start opening the door to these ins and these outs and left and down and expectations, you're going to get crushed. You can find it's the easy way or the hard way. So that's why I'm here to protect you and help you. So yeah, Bitcoin's going sideways now. I'm prepared. Okay, if it goes down, it is what it is. But we're always hopeful it goes up. Just don't forget, anything can happen in markets. What I like right now is everybody's on their toes. Everybody's remembering zombie virus. Think about it. I've spoken about zombie virus so many times myself because everyone's just always talking about it, but they're using the wrong lessons for it. They're looking at the zombie virus like, yep, it's going to happen again. And I'm looking at the zombie virus like, no, the pattern we're going to get ain't this. For all we know, how do we know it's not this pattern? How do we know it's not that? Right? How do we know that the Roca Negra ETF isn't going to come with this, the other ones too? So we really got to paint a picture as to what's going on. So recently we just saw, and look friends, I just got to change something for a second here. I forgot to schedule my Franklin Templeton ETF video from a few hours ago. So very, very unfortunate. But if you see, okay, Franklin Templeton, these new dudes with the ETF filing, they have 1.5 trillion under management. Now, I almost said it, Roca Negra have about 9 trillion or whatever it is. So 1.5 trillion, all these guys are coming in. This is super important news just to add to the context and the bullish undertone of everything going on. And look, the macro undertone, super important because people want reasons to be bullish, but they're not going to get it until it's too late. So the US Fed, right? US Fed still expected to hold rates, which is what we want. And we've got CPI coming out in 12 hours. Now, even if they hike one more, 2 times, it doesn't really matter because the system's cracking. Unemployment rate is starting to crack. Credit is starting to crack. It's very, very slow right now, but that's how these things go. People start, instead of cracking straight away, people look for alternatives. So they start borrowing on their credit card. They start looking for excess money, and then eventually they run out. And then unfortunately, that's why when unemployment rate's going up, they're like, uh-oh, I've just lost the most important asset, which is my job. So that's super important to think about. You know, everybody's waiting for the CPI. CPI is going to be out in like 10 hours. And the unemployment rate, the CPI expected 0.6, which is a hot reading. This will give an annualized 3.6%. So they can't do this declaration of victory yet. And everybody's going to be watching that core one, the core 0.2%. When it comes to this CPI, you notice that it's what everybody's talking about, but it's not the most important issue because the market's forward looking. It kind of knows what's going on. It knows that if the CPI is a bit hot, by the way, I just got to show you right now. So this is exactly what I want to show you. If you go back to the history of Bitcoin and interest rates, for example, you're going to see that whenever they held rates, we rallied. Okay, so down here, they held rates and they actually started cutting rates up here. It's funny, we go down, they hold rates to go up. But if we go into the S&P 500, there were periods of time where the CPI, the kippy, was still hot and they were cutting. So if we go into the GFC, just to show you right here, this is something people don't know. CPI was like 3 to 4%. It was hot. There was even, I think, a period in time, the Fed was cutting rates at like 4.5%, 5% CPI. So like it was pretty hot. But that was because the data was so bad. They're like, uh-oh, things are gonna go. So this is really important to think about and to keep in mind. Even though you see these high numbers of CPI, you'll see them pivot straight away. You'll be thinking like, what the hell is all that worrying about the inflation for? Well, this is just that's the whole game. You know, they have that mandate. They have CPI and they have jobs. But jobs is always more important. Why? It's because if people aren't working, we start to go loopy and riot. And we always want to be on the side of the professionals. The professionals are the bug eaters. The professionals are the insiders. And the professionals are people who are living in the future because they control the future narrative. Look what happened to my friend today. Look, let's just read this convo. He literally says to me, double sir. Okay, double sir with capital letters. Where he's like, whoa, 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 you better pay attention. I'm at a local coffee shop with boomers. There's a lady saying, I'm all in on CDs right now, certificates of deposit. High yield CDs is where it's at. There you go. Like this is all you need, okay? That's why I'm here to paint a picture for you, all right? The stock market is not saying, like the narratives out there is not that the stock market's pricing in stimulus. You are not seeing liquidity injections. You're not seeing interest rate cuts. You're still seeing a red monthly candle for Bitcoin. And you're wondering, how the hell is that bullish? Well, you want to get in with the people controlling the future narrative. I'm 99% sure the people who know what's coming next, they're already long now. Who are the people that are losing? Who are they? They are the people sitting in treasury bonds and yields. They're not allocating right here. This is super important because, you know, they're enjoying their nice, like, 5.5%. I wonder what they'll feel like if it goes down to 3%. Okay, their income's halved. That's what's going to happen. Their income's going to be halved. Why? So this is how you think about it, all right? So I know, like, we just see somebody with, like, okay, let's say you have $1 million. and you're making 55K a year. That's how they annualize it, 55K a year, just from the 5.5% yield. Well, if you bring that down to 35K in the year, all right, me and you think, well, you know, okay, it's still better than nothing. You're lucky to get yield from the Ponzi fiat government anyway. We're thinking like that. But how they're thinking is, oh my gosh, you've cut my income by like 40%. Ouch. That's how they're thinking. So they're not even looking at the $1 million as potential money to throw into a Ponzi, because that's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, you gave me $1 million. Okay, I would allocate to here, throw it in some memes, buy some Chainlink, buy some Pulse Hex. You know what I mean? Like, I want to start allocating around. That they don't think of it like that. They think about it as like an egg that'll never ever be cracked. And so you've cut their income by 40%. Now this is where the danger part comes in. The danger part comes in when the S&P 500 goes into just high enough territory to kind of like go like, oh, it's a brand new bull market, you should be allocating. That's where it's most important. And then unfortunately, once we get all of them in, market does what the market does, and you know, so that's how it always works. You go back in history, it always works like that. Remember, I told you, friends, what's the secret to markets? I've told you so many times, the secret to markets is positioning. That's actually the secret to markets. It's not whether you know that it's going to be heads or tails tomorrow. Like, it does not matter whether CPI is a bit hotter or a bit cooler with the data coming out. It doesn't matter. It matters how the market is positioned. Okay, the market is not positioned for super hot inflation or super cool inflation right now. It's not positioned for that. The bears are not ready for a super cooled inflation. They're not. So, you know what the bears aren't ready for? Of course, there's scenarios where the bulls aren't ready. Like, let's say the US economy goes into another hyper giga inflationary bull run. No one's ready for that. But just think about the likelihood of that, what you got to see out there, right? You already know people are not spending. So, what's everybody like in a weakened state for? Like, if something happens here, what will really throw them off? It will be if the unemployment rate's like 3.8%. So it was down. This is the unemployment chart. Unemployment rate, 3.8%. They're not ready for it to go to like 4 and go sideways. And now I'm going to draw the inflation rate. While the inflation rate goes all the way back down to like 1.5%, 2%. They're not ready for that zone. They're not ready for that. That would be the Goldilocks zone of data. And if that happens, we're probably going to see everybody tell us we've just ushered in a new bull market. Unemployment rate is healthy and inflation's down. But, I mean, you know markets by now. Do you believe anything? I don't believe anything in front of my eyes, friends. We've got to live in the future, okay? The bug eaters control the future. They're always living in the future because they know the plans. Me and you don't know the plans. Whatever we see today, the market's always trying to discount the future. So that's why we've got to think. If it ever gets into a Goldilocks zone, I'm not going to believe it for 1 second. But you know who will believe it? That's right. All the retailers. All those retailers in bonds, all those retailers who missed out on crypto, all those retailers who want to get in from the Roca Negra ETF, and all the other bug eater overlords and whatever agenda they have, buying Bitcoin up to 40, 50K and whatever altcoins and Ethereum are doing, that's probably a trap that they will fall right into. Now, I hate to use the word trap, but it is what it is. I mean, hey, you know, they call us suckers. They basically dumped on us in the past bull market. They're going to come back in. I'll tell you they're going to come back in because the walls are closing in. They haven't made generational wealth and there's only one place to make it. And her name is the cryptocurrency industry. Make sure you like, subscribe, press the bell button. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Catch you in the next one.